Hey, welcome to the United Codes Live about APEX Project I. My name is Dimitri Gielis. I'm the CEO of United Codes, and today I have with me Aleš Kravos and Philipp Hartenfeller. Guys, maybe wave. Okay, so
hello, hi.
So thank you all for joining. Before we get into the latest and greatest of APE, which we released a few weeks ago, I want to also give you a little bit of background for the people who don't know APEX Project I. So for many years as a consulting company, we were asked to review APEX applications or APEX instances. So we came in, we ran a bunch of scripts. Typically, like either the developer left and people didn't know what happened anymore with those APEX applications, or the project manager wanted to have an overview what people were doing with the apps, if they were still being used, how they needed to be maintained, if there were security issues with it, if there were like some like quality issues, or they call it an audit. Can we get an audit? So we always ran those scripts to get them through the metadata, the information that they needed, and we had to compile documents. So we thought, oh, we can do this much better, and this is why we built APEX Project I, because then we had a live application, and when we left, we would leave, they would still get some information about it. So initially, APE was more about getting insight into your APEX applications and APEX environment. But we progressed many years, and with everything, tools become so much better. So now APE has become for us internally, and like in any project that we are doing, an indispensable tool for any project that we do. We cannot live without APE. Let me also explain why. So during development, we use quality assurance to make sure that everybody follows like the same standards, that we don't make mistakes or easy mistakes. So live, we have QA. While we are developing, APE is checking things in the background for us. But also, if I'm going to touch a database object and Aleš or Philipp, like, I'm not sure which pages I will be impacted. I can use APE. It will give me that information. So during development, this is a very important piece, but also during testing. So when we do testing and people report bugs, like typically you get like a screenshot or like just some description and you don't know what it is. And with APE, we can actually replay their session. So we can go through the error, we see the error that they have, we can replay, we see exactly how they came to that error. So to reproduce bugs is very good. Also just to check like which error were there that people didn't report. And then even in production, we have APE now and we use it with every customer. We use it to monitor the database, Apex, and also ORDS. So we really turned around the way we got errors. Like people don't call us anymore. We call the people. So this is just a little bit of a background, but it's not about me to talk. I really want to introduce two great men. So Aleš, he is our lead for Apex Project I. He's in Slovenia. And next to being the product owner for APE, he's also monitoring many consulting projects. I believe he will cover one migration project today where APE made a big impact. By using APE, they gained so much time. So that's Aleš. And now we have Philipp, the rock star lately, who became very famous. If you have seen the Advent things like every single day, there's a video coming out with tips and tricks that Philipp is doing. So if you want to see it, you have to check the YouTube channel. It's really cool. But like Philipp in United Codes, he is a product lead. He is touching many different products, also APE, and he will touch some of the things that he built in APE. So guys, it's really up to you. I really look forward to the session. If there are any questions, just ask. This is for the audience. And then we'll talk again later. Aleš, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dimitri. Thanks for the great introduction. So I hope you can hear me well. I'm having some connectivity issues. So the one of the latest features we added to the product is called Scorecard. Before doing a live demo, I would like to talk about it. What was the idea behind it? And like Dimitri said, we're getting most of the ideas from real life projects. And the latest projects, myself and my team were involved with an Apex upgrade project, where we migrated Apex applications for our client from version 4 to newer versions of Apex, specifically to 22.2. And how to even tackle a migration project. So first of all, what we needed to do is define the scope. What is the size of the applications? What do we have to migrate to even communicate with the customer, to our client? What the schedule will be, what the budget will be, what cost will be. So how to tackle that? Of course, first list all the applications, all the pages need to be migrated, see if they have an activity, so we don't migrate dead pages, and categorize pages into, let's say, into groups. So I'll disable my camera. Hopefully my video will be done better. Okay, just checking with the technical team if that's any better.
Yeah, you're unfortunately still a little bit robot-y.
try to do something else.
I think it's a bit better now, Aleš. You can continue. If it doesn't work, we will switch to Philipp.
Okay. So okay, talking about how to handle migration projects and how to define the scope of the projects. We were thinking, how can APE help us? APE helped us with understanding how the pages and applications are used, which pages we need to migrate, but we didn't have a feature and pages behind it. So we came the idea to build the APE Scorecard. So how to define what makes a page complex? It's basically it depends on the context, but if we see it from a perspective of migration projects, we can say, of course, size does matter. The bigger the page, the more complex it is. How much custom code it has. On one side, SQL and PL/SQL. It's really important if you decide to, during the project, also to optimize the code, to tune performances, migrate code to the database, and how much JavaScript and CSS code there is, because if it was developed in Apex 4, there's a good chance it might not work today. And of course, you will also want to improve best practices. So yeah, pages with a lot of custom code can be considered complex pages. Plugin utilizations, especially if the plugins are old, like from times of the Apex version 4, chances are that they don't work in the newest versions of Apex. So, and also Apex delivered native functionality that can deliver that experience. For example, modal dialogues, which were not available in Apex 4, and so on. Of course, if a page uses a lot of deprecated legacy components and libraries, for sure there will be extra work and effort required to migrate that page. If a page has bad performance, we agreed with the customer, we will take a look at that, try to improve it. If there were any custom templates used, and for example, if there were any more complex region with complex sources, for example, if the SQL query is generated dynamically, or the HTML, or there are some REST sources, and of course, a lot of other parameters. So we try to crawl through the Apex dictionary, get as much as information as possible, and come up with a numerical score for each page. This score is calculated as a sum of the score of the size of the page, the complexity, and we then add a bit of a bonus score, which I will talk about a little bit in the next slide. So we offered a scorecard for, we deliver now a scorecard for each page, which makes you understand how complex it is and why APE considers it as complex. So you were able to drill down, and you're able then to categorize those pages into, let's say, simple, medium, hard, and easier manage your project by that, because you know exactly what the scope is and you can measure it. And everything that can be measured is also easier to manage. As I mentioned, in APE, the pages are then categorized in 6 different, we call them complexity or size buckets, representing how much effort will most likely be needed if you migrate or if you want to enhance a page like this. So in this project, how APE did help me with this immigration project. So first of all, it was easier to manage the project. It was easier to define a schedule with each sprint, which pages are going to be migrated. It was easier to assign work based on the skill set of the resources that we had. So I could assign easier pages to developers with less experience, and the complex one to our rock stars. It was easier also to track the progress of how we are doing, how much points did we already cover. The developers themselves, before they even started to migrate the pages, they had valuable information about what awaits them, what will be the challenges when migrating this page, how are the pages connected to each other, how the users navigated those pages, and outside, are there any performance issues? So the developers really had a good understanding before starting their work. And I could also was able to report to our client exactly the progress of the project, and in a measurable way then also report what are the outcomes of the migrated application. So what we did is copy the applications and then run the scorecard for the new and the migrated applications, and in a percentage told our customer how much we decreased the complexity, and by that justified, let's say, how we will reduce the maintenance cost for such an application. So this was greatly appreciated. I'll try now to do a demo if my resolution will allow me. So how to access the scorecard? It's accessible in the Insights menu here, but by default, you first have to set up a APE project, and include applications in the project, and after that, the scorecard will be automatically calculated. So let me create a new project. I will include all applications that have some activity log in this workspace. So before these presentations, I prepared some of the demo applications from Apex, which can be downloaded in the Apex gallery. And now I see in the back, there are some jobs running in the background. This is also a new feature that we added in the latest release, so you can now see if there's something running behind the scenes that has been triggered by APE. You can also go to that section and see which jobs are running. So apparently the scorecard has already been calculated, so I can go to the scorecard and have an applications overview. See a score calculated for all applications, which is basically a total sum of all the page scores multiplied by a complexity modificator, but if the page uses a complex global page or uses a lot of shared components. If I go to the dashboard of a single page, I can see so I can see how the pages are, let's say, the spread. I have my complexity scale here, and here the size score. So all the pages in the far here corner are most likely the big ones, where more effort will be required. I can also change the color of this of the pages by bucket. So based on which bucket they are sorted, that the color is then associated. And of course, I can then also see the details on how the score was calculated. So I see the total score, 46. That doesn't tell me much, but I see this page has got 5 scores from complexity because it's using some complex region. It uses some CSS code. It's referencing multiple database objects, 26 to be exact. And if I want to scroll, drill down why, I can also see which database objects exactly are utilized by this page. And if I want to, so this page also got points for using a lot of custom PLSQL code. It has also a lot of, there are a lot of, there are bigger chunks of that code. I can also drill down here and see what's behind the scenes. So this is something our developers use before migrating the page, getting ready, and see what challenges were awaited them. What I can do in the scorecard, I can also go to more tabular representations. I can see the pages of multiple applications, so at once, drill down to them to see what the score is. So as I said, the score is calculated based on the size score, which is a weighted score based on how many regions, items, columns, dynamic actions are on the page. So in this case, this page got 15 points. Then a complexity score calculated with all these parameters, and then a bonus score if at the same time this page has multiple complexity parameters, like at the same time it's using some custom CSS code, JavaScript code, PLSQL code, uses plugins, it will get additional bonus points because that makes it even more complex. All right. Any questions from the audience?
Not at the moment yet. At least I don't see them in the chat. But yeah, people can ask them. Like what I find really cool, Aleš, is that we can, or people can just install this in their current Apex version, at least like 19.2 and up,
Yep.
and get straight away a view what will come to them when they upgrade to Apex.
Exactly. What we also did maybe in the scorecard was it's possible to do. We have a tiny utility, a cost calculator. So if you, for example, offering a migration project to a client, you can roughly calculate if you the cost or the budget of such a project by selecting the APE project, in this case my demo project that I created. You can choose which pages you want to take into the account, only those which have some activity or all of them. Define an hourly rate, I don't know, let's round it up. Provide an estimate, let's say a fixed project cost, and an estimate for basic pages or really small. So let's say that those are really easy. We will migrate them in 1 hour. Here are some more moderate page, a little more effort required. And for the really complex page, let's say 3 days. And an extra day for each application separately. I'll define by default 10% risk, so plus minus 10%, and I get an overview what this might. So that we can communicate the budget with my client.
Aleš, we have a question from Richmond. Could the project I provide recommendations using AI?
It could, and it's also on the roadmap. It does not yet, but this is the next step where we want to go with the scorecard. So the scorecard was now delivered, let's say, as a first version. which helped us with the migration project. But of course, we want to go now on the next level. Calculating complexity based on how many lines a JavaScript or SQL code is of course not the, let's say, the ideal way of assessing it. It is the first step, but of course, if maybe using an AI, sending an SQL query to an AI module, which would look inside it, define how complex it is, and if there's room for improvement, we would of course get much better insights. And this is the way we want to go.
Yeah, and I think AI could also give you just in speaking what it found. Like it can interpret the scores and then tell you like this is a very complex application and it's doing this, this, and this. So yeah. Okay, I don't have any other questions, Aleš. Did you want to cover something else?
No, giving forward to Philipp.
Thank you very much. So my screen is already shared. Really love the scorecard feature. It's always nice to see what real complexities behind all the stuff we develop on. And I spent some time in this release to create a dashboard for your database. And the thing is, like in huge enterprises, of course, you probably have a database administrator who will do this. But what about like our small projects, smaller companies? And it's nice to get like a sense of what's going on in my database, how is it working inside APE, so you don't need to run your queries manually, etc. So I structured it with a few pages. So the first one is a general database info, and this is just your typical stuff. So we're here on prod, a risky demo here, but like we can see it's a 19C database with a host name, status, it's up for 92 days, size, etc. How many CPUs? So just to get some general sense, but more importantly, we can see like the registry, what components do I have installed. So we have Apex, and we're probably not on the latest patch. I think the 7th patch set of 24.1 just came out recently, but mostly up to date. And also the other stuff like Oracle text version, etc. Here are the database patches. So for example, data pump, OGVM, but most importantly, the database release update. So you can see, am I actually on the latest patch on my database? Options is just to see like which licensing options do I have installed in my database, so you can see, okay, can I actually use partitioning or something like that? So yeah, more interestingly, we now get into the users, and this is just to get a basic overview about your database users. And it's just listing all of them. So we have, for example, the Apex one. We also have the Apex 23 one here. Still could remove that. And you can see like the status, which ones are locked, which ones are open. Is it okay that they're locked? Table space, temporary table space, and just profile. This is cool. You can, for example, create a profile for password expiry. I saw like a blog post about that. Still need to do it manually. We don't have a solution for that in here, but just to get your info basically on your users in the database. Okay, table spaces. This is interesting if you want to see like, am I running into space issues? Usage basically. We used that actually like a few weeks ago to find out that our sysaux was running full. So pretty useful that you don't need to connect to your database and run queries, etc. Sessions, this one I really like. And you can see in here actually what's going on in my database. So as we can see here, we have over 50 sessions, and most of them are inactive. That's pretty good for our database. And then we can even see here the ones that are active, what are they actually doing? So we have an SQL ID, we can click on that, and we can see the statement it's running, how much time is it actually running, and yeah, the typical statistics about what's running. Please keep in mind, this is not a live view, so these statements are already done. But like if I refresh, I would probably get this is the query of this report. So it's just a point in time you refresh this thing, you get to see that statement. Also pretty nice is a blocking session dashboard. Luckily, we don't have any blocking sessions. But if you, however, create a blocking session, like some of the developers might forget a commit or something, you would see in here a tree of the session which blocks the other session, etc. And I can see which statement is it. And yeah, what we don't have in this whole dashboard is like any writing stuff. This is currently read only. It's so you can give it really to some users in your that use APE normally, some database developers, and they can't like break anything. There is no command input to kill any sessions or to run any sys statements. So this is fail safe basically. Yeah, we also got like some feedback about some info on ORDS. Unfortunately, it's not very easy to get much info on what actually the health status of ORDS is. Currently, as much of the data is only in ORDS itself, so not in the database, only in the Java application. But here we get some interesting info. So for example, here we see the amount of sessions split up between Apex public user and ORDS public user. And the Apex public user is basically the user under which all the Apex applications run. So if I here, so you won't see basically this active being 0 because I'm using an Apex application. So this one active is actually me refreshing the page. And so you can see, okay, like I have only 4 open sessions. We have like a session time defined, I think about an hour or something. So in the last few hours, there was not much load because otherwise there will still be more open sessions, only one active. So it's really quiet on the Apex side. However, on the ORDS public user side here, we have 27 open sessions and 0 active currently. I mean, like if each transaction or like each ORDS public user request, which is basically a REST endpoint for our case, or the REST endpoints are running under that user, it's hard to catch that one here being active because like if it's only lasting for like a fraction of a second, you need to be lucky to catch one actually in here. But yeah, why do we have 27 open in our case is because we use a lot of REST in the background to communicate with our clouds, etc. And that's the reason that, yeah, so many sessions are open. Importantly, like this is just information. You need to interpret that for yourself, for your environment. Also, like we just described how you can change your ORDS configuration, but like we can't know what's the optimal one for your case with how much Apex users you have, how much resources the database has, etc. But like we referenced 2 blog posts who can help with that.
Hey,
Okay.
Philipp, we have a question from Bram.
Mm-hmm.
So does APE set up a database dashboard automatically, or is this set up a manual process?
Thank you for the question. So this is just a feature of APE. So if you install the app, you have it in there. You can enable and disable the dashboard if you don't want it. And you still need to grant the user under which is APE running some views, basically the sys views that offer this information. You need to grant select on them to the schemer. Also, like you can, like if I wouldn't have done this, on this page would be blank, but there would be like an info, you're missing the grants on this and this and this to make this page work. And then if you do it, then the data will show. So if you say, for example, yeah, actually, I don't only want to see the ORDS data, you can only grant the views on the ones used here to see that. But yeah, it's just included in your APE app. So if you install it and the grants are there, it's working for you. So if we would have a lot of stuff going on the database, what's also nice, you can see here what's actually the thing being used in the ORDS connection. So if you have any long-running Apex tests, or for example, then you would see what apps are causing this. For example, here this is just page 94, which is just this one. So currently it's pretty quiet on our database. We can see like actually some client information. It's my session. Yeah, here again, schema, app ID, workspace ID, session even. So we could even like trigger some remote debugs if we would like to.
Hey, Philippe, there's another question. Like, does this work with any version of the database, or do you need some enterprise edition features for this?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Aleš, but APE, I think, runs on any database. We explicitly don't use any features that require licensing, so you're just good to go with any license. But yeah, the DB dashboard especially does not need any license.
Correct, I confirm that.
Thanks. And the last one is actually some performance overview over your database. And this is just memory usage. So you can just get a feel of how much is used. The total is the most important one. So we have some margin, SGA, like we can also like ask, okay, what is this? SGA is a system global area and PGA is a program. So like any session, individual user process uses PGA, the general database stuff uses SGA. But I'm not in DBA myself. Please don't ask me further questions about that. But you can just see, okay, for example, here it's actually currently using 96% of the allocated PGA. But yeah, actually, that's not bad. That's why it's not red or something, because it has some margin it could allocate more PGA. We see some wait time statistics. This basically tells you a general feeling that where the database has some latency, so it's just application, other concurrency, but we see luckily that we don't have issues with commits or network scheduler stuff. In the middle here, we just see top SQL, so we can see the statements that take up the most time. So for example, here, this one is modify state. Okay, this could be like, that's a thing. It's from ORDS public user. I'm not sure, is this code we wrote, or it could be like some internal code from ORDS that unfortunately is not possible to extract from there. But like, for example, here we can see actually from the module, and that's cool that Apex offers this information. We can see here, pip, plugins pro, rich text editor. This is some of our apps. And I can see, okay, this statement here actually takes up a lot of time. And we can see in our case, we have like, it's probably some ChatGPT or Google crawler that again is stuck in a loop to crawl this page. And yeah, also like we can, so this is just a general elapsed time, but we can also sort by basically what's the longest time one statement ran. And this is like some of our internal apps, or like a scheduler job that took 80 seconds to run. So yeah, this is basically from this database dashboard. Thank you very much. And now again to Aleš, who can show you a little bit more about what APE offers.
Thanks, Philipp.
Like, I also wanted to step in, like we use APE for this monitoring, and what Aleš will cover next is also about monitoring, but like monitoring the database, monitoring ORDS, like you have different tools. So why would you use APE? Well, really, because APE can give you end-to-end view of what is happening. Like we focus first on Apex, but then we go also into ORDS and the database from our own experience. So sorry, Aleš, I didn't want to interrupt, but I thought to give some background too.
Not at all. Perfect. Okay, Watchtower. So this was introduced last year into APE. A really great feature, but it's sometimes we think it's a little bit underutilized, and so I wanted to explain it again, what it does. What Dimitri already said, it's basically it's a monitoring framework inside Apex Project I, and it's meant for basically monitoring the entire database, not just Apex applications, but what's going on in your database, monitoring your logs. you could use this to monitor external sources if you have some REST APIs or any other synchronizations, and you can monitor also not just technical data, but also your business processes. So everything what you can get from the through the database, it can be monitored through the Watchtower. And yeah, Dimitri, also, why did we decide to build it? It's again based on experience from real life projects. So we had a project where we basically made sure for our client that everything works as it should. It was a public facing application, so it was really important that the application was up, all integrations were working, and it started basically really running SQL statements in the morning and checking the logs. And of course, then you ask yourself, couldn't we automate this? And that's exactly what we did by building the Watchtower. So how Watchtower is built? So let me do some of the components. So first is the scanner schedule. Behind the scenes, that are various database jobs that are run in the background. You can define them based on the needs of a specific case, so you can run them daily, hourly, or even more frequently. In most cases, how soon you want to get an alert if something goes wrong or something suspicious. Sensors are the logic, what you are going to monitor. I will show you in a second. Basically, they are SQL queries. So a sensor can be, for example, how many errors are popping up? Is there a spike in activity? Is any REST source down? And then for each sensor, you define the escalation rules. So this means you define the rule or an automation if something should trigger. So for example, if I have a slow database job and if it runs more than 2 minutes, do something. And by do something, I mean escalation channels, where you define what should APE do, what should Watchtower do in those cases. Should it just have an inline notification in APE? Should it send an email? Or should it do something else? For example, send an SMS if you have this option through the database. So let me show you a little bit around. So in the end, all the results from the scans from these sensors are gathered and can be viewed through the dashboard, where I can also see the status, what's going on, and of course a lot of indicators if something needs to catch my attentions. But let's return to this dashboard in a second. So first of all, let me show you an example of a so-called sensor. I will use a fairly simple one. If you install APE, you will already get some of our demo sensors, which already run daily on your database, and you can use them then to basically create sensors for yourselves. So this one is fairly easy. Unsuccessful login attempts. So this sensor basically goes through the Apex logs and checks if there might be a security breach that somebody wants to attack your application. So here we are basically counting unsuccessful login attempts for a specific user. And the query should always return a key column and a value column, returning some information based on which we can then define our escalation rules. So I can also preview if my query works. And this is the result that the query returns. So based on this, I can see that a user titled John D tried 3 times to unsuccessfully log into my application called opportunities. And based on this number 3, the value column, I can define my escalation rules. So if somebody tried to access unsuccessfully the applications from 2 to 3 times, I will mark this as an information. The higher we go, the more unsuccessful attempts, I will raise the severity, basically, of the event. And I can also define different escalation channels in these cases. So, for example, in case of just 3 unsuccessful login attempts, I do nothing. When it's above, I can define that I get a message in an APE inbox, and I will see it here in the upper right corner, a notification in line. But if I really want to that Watchtower catches my attention, I will also send an APE email to my email account with the information of this event, what happened. I can also use substitution variables from the SQL statement. So for example, here I will get an email that the user called John D, which was returned in the attribute 1 select column, had 3 unsuccessful login attempts into application opportunities. Each sensor is tied to a scanner. So by this, we can define how often we want to scan stuff. So by default, APE has just a daily scanner because we didn't want to go extra wild when APE is installed in your database. But of course, some logs would make sense that they are monitored more frequently, maybe hourly or even minutely, so that you get, if something shady is going on, for example, a bot attack or something, a security attack, that you get notified immediately. You can then follow up on the history of all of the scans that were executed. So this report showed each scan. So for example, now that I have this APE daily scanner, this represents a scan which was executed each day. I immediately see with this icon for all sensors that were included in this scan, the worst outcome or the most prioritized. So I see here, well, there are some embed database objects, and I don't want that on my production environment. I can then drill down that I can see exactly which database objects are invalid, and that is basically what my SQL statement did return. So if I fine tune my SQL statement, I will get this information. So here I see that these 3 packages have an are unable to compile. Everything else seems okay. If I check the last scan, I will see that something was going on. My tables started to increase. I can drill down which tables. Oh, there's some APE table called APE underscore dependency. Yesterday it was 6 megabytes. Today it's 9. So there's something going on, maybe shady. I need to check it out. There were a lot of errors per session, and the ratio got up. I can see here based on my SQL statement. Oh, here the application ID 164 has a really high errors per session ratio, and so on and so on. Of course, the idea here is that you define your sensors which make sense for you. Either they are, let's say, technical, like monitoring logs, or business sensors. Did a step in my workflow finished in a certain amount of days, or is it lagging behind? So when I started to introduce Watchtower, I was talking about a project where we use it. So first we use it for most of all for technical stuff, just checking the logs, making sure no weird errors are occurring, and everything was up and running. But then we added, together with the collaboration of our client, sensors that make sense for the business users. So, for example, it was an application that public-facing applications that had user accounts, which could be blocked. And if there such an event happened, Watchtower raised and escalated that to the business users.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the biggest cool features of Watchtower is especially the business value. Like all those business people or the CEO, they always tell me that they really love this because they can check their real business. Like if an invoice wasn't sent or like something didn't get paid in time or like somewhere, like you said, in the flow of their process, something failed, like this really stands out.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, and if you if your morning starts by running a ton of SQL statements, checking if everything is okay in your system, you might want to use this module instead. So that's it about Watchtower. Any questions from our audience?
I don't see questions yet. But
I promised I will talk about the dashboard in the end. So the dashboard also is pre-filled with the sensors that are preloaded when you install APE, but you can then exchange them. So you have on the top traffic light region, so you can see the last assessment of a certain sensor. So you might want to put here the ones that are really crucial for you. You have here some slots if you want to inspect the results in a timeline. So, for example, if some jobs start to run really slow, you can see then in a chart basically the results for the latest period. And
Aleš, can you customize this dashboard?
yeah, you can in a limited way. So here you can add your sensors. You can define which sensors you want to have at the traffic light. You can define the sequence. So for example, if I remove here two sensors, I will only have then 4 traffic lights here. I can add those 6. I have 6 slots for these for these charts, and I can also define number of days I want to display. So in this case, by default, I want to display the trend of the last week. And here below, you can see a matrix, basically a sensor per day. Even though a sensor can be executed multiple times during one day, here the worst out, by worst I mean if there was something wrong, it will be displayed here. So we can also see the history if something was going on. So everything, so for example, the increasing table size, I see everything was fine the last 14 days, but yeah, because I needed some demo data for this presentation, I made it happen that my tables increased. And this I can then click on it, drill down, see the past executions. So yeah.
Okay, great. So are there some other new features that we want to talk about?
So these were the biggest ones, but yeah, we also made some tiny improvements of Apex Project I. One of them is that in this year we added this utility section here with, let's say, smaller features or features that can be used as a standalone. One of them is, which is really cool, I think, the entity relationship diagram. So before we had this inside the APE application, the application dashboard, we moved it to the utility section because you can scan your whole database schema with it. We also can now, so if you just execute the search, it can be quite, let's say, hard to read if it returns all your database objects, but we add the pick objects feature now. So yeah, it's like this. It's just a mess, but if you get pick objects, you can really select the tables that you want to represent in the error diagram, and you can choose to display all referenced objects in the first level or the second level, which means if there are some foreign key relationship relations between these tables, it will be also shown. So if everything works as it should, I also should get the AMP and the famous department table.
Yeah, this is what I really love. Like, I really love when I see an application that I don't know to look at the data model that is behind it. And since APE can see, like, with the object dependencies, which objects are being used, and then we can visualize it, it really shows me a lot of information, how this application was built.
Yeah, and we also utilize the object dependency. So we calculate which tables are and views are referenced by your application. So if you go inside one application,
yeah, I also use a lot like double clicking on it, and then I get the information of that table.
Yeah,
where it's being used. I use that a lot too.
So we have also an error diagram inside, so in your application overview section. So, but this error diagram functions a little bit differently than the one that I showed you earlier, because here you get the database objects only if they are referenced by your applications. But this means if they are in the procedure processes, region sources, server-side conditions, and so on. You can also filter by page group. So if I want to see all, so here I have the opportunities application. Let me check all the objects that are referenced with pages in the competition page group. I can select it, filter. So yeah, obviously they are not related between each other, but yeah, I see that these three tables are used by these pages. And yeah, like you said, Dimitri, if I double click, I can see then more data about this table. About the constraints, if there are any relationships, in which pages it's used, which database object dependencies it has. So for example, which triggers are referencing in which package body. If there would be some data, I would even see some sample data here. So yeah, and I can also use this to add comments to the table and to the columns themselves directly here through APE, so I don't need to use any other tool.
Okay, great. So there's a question. Can it go the other way to show which pages are used by a table?
Yeah, so I did that basically right now. So if I double click here, I have here a component dependency, and I see which pages are using it. But we added also, so it's a really great question, because we added also a new feature in the utilities called object dependency reports. And one of them is object utilization report, which can do exactly that, give you an overview what the impact would be if I change a table. So this is something you mentioned in the beginning, Dimitri, right? So, for example, let me check the, I think it's called opportunities table. No. Just give me a second. I will also use here the customers application. So I can define multiple applications. So, for example, here I now see that this table is referenced 18 times in application 166, also in one trigger, sorry, in 3 triggers. and in one packages, and I can of course drill down. Clicking on it, I can exactly see where this table is used. In some region sources, in one page item source, a column server side condition. So yeah, I can really understand how it is used. So and also see in which package it's referenced. So okay, this custom package. And
Like I also, yeah, sorry.
You go ahead.
No, I was going to say, like, I also use a lot, like, looking at the application, like looking at the flow of the application, and then click on a page and see which objects that is using. Because now we went from like bottom to top, but also from top to bottom. Like this was like one of the first features we had, but like still I love it to get an overview, a graphical overview of the application.
Maybe just a
page flow.
You mean the page view? Sorry.
Yeah.
By default, it can get messy. So yeah, you might want to filter by page groups.
But you can also zoom in, just like.
Yeah, I can zoom in, but let me just try to make it. Yeah, and you can drag it around. Zoom in, and when you drag, you can see basically what type of link is it. A list, is a button, how to get to that page. And I can also download this and include it in my technical documentation if I want.
Yeah, and double click on it.
Yeah.
And then here you see the dependencies too, which is pretty cool. Okay, great. Okay, question for the audience. Do you have any other questions? Okay, I see we topped the hour. Aleš or Philipp, do you want to say anything else before we do the wrap up?
Well, no, thanks for hearing us out. Thanks for showing this out. We really, we love using this project on our own projects, and it's awesome how
we
it
haven't
increases
even
our productivity.
Yeah, and we haven't even shown much of it. There's still so much behind the scenes, like documentation generation, so you can auto generate documentation. Quality assurance is my favorite part, where you can run like it's basically Apex Advisor, but working good, etc., with lots of rules, and you can add your own rules. You should definitely check out our YouTube channel, where we rarely or like more and more post more videos about what's the features in APE and what you can do.
Do we already want to say what is coming next year? Since we invest so much in Apex Project I don't know if people have an idea about how much we invest, but like it's a lot. Like all those rock stars are working on this product, and we really treat it as a core product of us. So do we already want to say what is coming in 25 or not yet? I'll leave it up to Aleš since he's the product lead.
It depends how much pressure I want to give to give on my shoulders. So yeah, but we already discussed one thing. Of course, we want to look into how we can incorporate AI into APE, give us even more insights, page summaries. Maybe you can also Watchtower can make some, let's say, more informative reports. And the other thing we are thinking about to do is that APE would get insights of multiple environments at once. So currently, APE is working on the database. You install it, you see the logs from that database, which is often your development database. So you don't see the information from production, where, of course, your users use it, and that's how then you understand how the application is used. So what we are planning to do is bring all this information into one instance, So, for example, you could have then on the development instance all the data from test, from the user acceptance tests, and from production, comparing how the same application behaves on those environments. Of course, getting the valuable production log data from production.
Yeah, I love that feature. I hope that we can get it done fast. But it's yeah, like Aleš always tells me, like, don't put too much pressure.
Now I did it
So-
myself. Now I have to deliver if I talked about it.
Yeah, this is why I wanted you to
Publicly,
say it.
yeah.
Like, we have one other question here. Like, how are you targeting government agencies using Oracle? This is a good tool.
So governmental agencies, at least for those I'm working for, are also loving this tool and using it.
So yeah, we are not specifically targeting them, but they really like the tool, like Aleš said. Yeah, maybe some companies, they think about like privacy, but at the end of the day, like what we show, we just make it very easy for you to see what is happening. But at the end of the day, Apex is based on Apex activity logs. And anything that Apex is recording, and then we have our own recorders in a way too. But so yeah, it's governments really like this. Okay, then I think we topped the hour. So I want to first thank the both speakers, Aleš and Philipp. Great job. Also, I want to, of course, thank the public who is following us. We are basically building this tool also for you. We are building it for ourselves. But just like with any of our other products, at the end of the day, it's all we built is for you, for our customers. We want to make you all rock stars. So many project managers love this tool. Many developers love it. So I hope you want to give it a try too. If you don't use it yet, you can go to apexprojecti.com. And if there's anything that you say like, oh, I really miss this feature, just like with AOP or like our plugins, we treat APE as really important and we really wanted to help you in your job. So we are listening on it. Like Aleš said, we have a roadmap. We can put it on the roadmap. And yeah, if many people request a specific feature, we will build it. So yeah, here the light is, I'm in a smart building. But the light didn't recognize me yet because the camera isn't working, and I didn't put it always on. This is why the light sometimes goes off here. Okay, so this has been our last United Coast Live in 2024, but we will be back in 25 with some great stuff. You will love what we have. Thank you so much, and see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye, everybody.